Thank you. So we're here to talk about the state of AI infrastructure, and that's really why everybody's here. And I thank you all so much for staying. I know we're in the way of happy hour. I was fortunate enough to get this amazing panel to join me from BlackRock, Cisco, and Microsoft. And it's really about kind of bringing community together. My name is Garsten from Quanta Networks. I'm the CEO. I'm a mentor for 500 Global and also Plug and Play. And really, this is about moderating a conversation and for us to just share with you what we're seeing. And things are literally happening in real time. I had to actually go back and change some questions because the information that I had just wasn't exactly accurate. In a moment, I'll have these guys introduce themselves. But I just want to give a quick moment to thank Ignite GTM for creating this amazing summit. And I think we should all give them a round of applause for this phenomenal day. That's been amazing to me. Let me have each of you guys just introduce yourselves really quick.
All right. Hey, everyone. I'm David Hefter. I'm at BlackRock. I've been there my whole career. We're a large asset manager. I focus on AI exclusively, and it's on our use of AI internally within our investment process. So I'm probably bringing a perspective here of AI within a large enterprise, which we are. And I'm constantly looking at buy versus build. So hopefully bring a good perspective there.
Awesome. Vlad?
My name is Vladimirs Sazonovs. I'm from Cisco. I've been with the Cisco for 25 years. I'm in corporate finance of Cisco. We're looking for the ways how we can help our customers and partners to build digital infrastructure by providing innovative financing and funding solutions. Nice to meet you.
Please.
My name is Nidhi Chappell. Good to be here. I am the head of AI infrastructure at Microsoft. I'm excited to see the diversity of the panel here, and I've been with Microsoft for 6 years. I joined a month after we had done our partnership with OpenAI, and life has been interesting since then. So.
Wow, amazing. So when the Ignite GTM group approached me and said, gee, would you moderate this panel? I said, yes, I'd be honored to. And that was about a month ago. Now, by now, that seems like about a year ago, because that's how fast things are changing and moving and evolving. So since then, one of the questions I was going to ask about Microsoft is, gee, what's happening, fast, slow, on gas, off gas? But then overnight, they made the announcement, on the gas, making the investment moving forward. So that's really exciting. So today, we're going to talk about the resilience, sovereignty, and really the multi-trillion-dollar backbone that's being built by the companies that I'm sitting up here with. So let's get started with the first question. What's really driving AI infrastructure strategy right now? Is it market demand? Is it tech breakthroughs or geopolitics? What are your kind of thoughts?
I'm happy to start. I think since we just announced our results yesterday too, and we reinforced how Microsoft is committed to AI, and we see a combination of multiple factors, right? You look at the demand coming from different sets of customers, whether they are the large model producers like OpenAI, our internal model producers, or consumers worldwide, right? Just wanting to take the latest and greatest and really do it at scale. So we're definitely seeing a lot of demand. We also think this will be a trend that will continue for some time, right? I think as we incorporate all these new models into our different use cases, we'll see more and more productivity gains. And Jaron Zas goes back and says it'll catch up from there. So we're definitely committed, and we see this both as not just driven by geopolitics necessarily, but mostly driven a lot by the user demand.
Yeah, so. Indeed. Vlad, what are you seeing at Cisco?
I think the transformative things we've seen with the AI today in our phones and our computers has been massively driven by the guys like Microsoft, by the clouds they build. However, I think the demand ahead of us is probably 100x. Will be driven by the enterprise customers like BlackRock. Cisco last month published AI Readiness Survey. It's a survey of about 8,000 business decision makers in the AI space from the companies of 500 employees and before. And 80% of them said, we have AI in our strategy as important competitiveness and growth element. 46% of them said, we are not ready from infrastructure perspective, it's just not there in place. 77% of them said, our data is all over the place. So we will have to do something with our data to actually make a sense out of it using the AI. And the 70% of them said we don't have enough talent. What this data shows to me is that demand is going to be there, but it's not yet even started from the enterprise perspective. So I think it's still ahead of us.
Okay, fair. David, any comments on that one?
Yeah, I mean, I think we are in the early stages here, still first inning. There's so much to go. This transition we've seen from training to inference has been huge. So there's, once you look at it from an inference perspective, we've got a lot of areas where AI models are going to just continue to be adopted in bigger and bigger ways. Enterprises is a big one that hasn't hit as much as it certainly will. But if you look at other sort of models too in certain domains, like healthcare, finance, you get domain-specific use cases that are just going to explode. You're going to have physical AI use cases like robotics and autonomous vehicles. So, I mean, there's so many different paths here, and they're all going to happen on their own journey at their own pace, but they're all coming.
Nice. And what new infrastructure models do you see, with respect to kind of keeping pace with the massive need for AI? Are there new models that any of you guys are seeing as it relates to the infrastructure itself and how you can kind of relate or bring this out to business? Are there any new models you're seeing from a costing perspective?
I think you mean like in terms of business models, too,
Yes,
right?
indeed, indeed.
So I think with the rise of open source models, like DeepSeek is a good example. What we are seeing a lot of is that there is a lot of post-training that is happening from a broader set of customers. Like what used to be the premise of a few customers who had the money to actually do training now has become a little bit more democratized, with customers shifting to post-training. And that is coming from different geos, that is coming from different scales. And that is driving different requirements. Like previously, when you look at large frontier models, these are large scale investments that take a year or two to like really define your plan. For post-training, a lot of customers are like, I have either a new use case or I have a unique value, I have a unique set of data, and I can really capitalize on it. I need the capacity now, right? So we are seeing a lot of these, like we're moving from long trends to long trends plus a lot of short-term needs as well. So it's definitely been interesting, and like it also is coming from customers worldwide with a lot of flexibility on how they want to use it and where they want to deploy it. So it's definitely been a very interesting journey in that regard.
So very situational, it sounds
Very
like.
situational, yes.
Okay, that makes sense. Vlad, what are you guys seeing over at Cisco?
I will expand on this, where and how they would like to deploy it. The value of AI applications for the enterprise customers is transformational. We'll speak about that. But I think the way enterprise customers will look at procurement of that doesn't really change. They will look at the cost. They will look at complexity. They will look at people availability, the talent availability to build it. They will look essentially at core versus context. And the enterprise will figure out what's important for them, that software layer is a managing software layer plus model is a model, or maybe the whole thing to make it a specific hardware configuration. And from there, they will be making a decision. Do I want to literally sit in between enterprise and hyperscaler? Do they want to keep it in-house and build the whole thing there? Do they want to run it in a hyperscaler, or do they want to run it somewhere in the middle, in a neo-cloud space, provided as a managed service? Yeah, I understand my application, but no, manage the hardware stack for me in a hyperscaler or in a colo. So I think the way the enterprise is going to procure it will be based on that idea, core versus context. What do I own? What do I outsource?
Okay, that makes sense. David, let me ask you kind of a little bit different question. With the models getting smaller, faster, and cheaper, what do you see from an enterprise perspective as being the impact on compute?
Yeah, so there's definitely like a trend going on here around compute needs. And so there's a lot of great work that we've done with Microsoft in terms of using compute that they have. And you could do so much with the hyperscalers. The model selection, it often comes down to what task you're trying to do. And so the DeepSeek moment really opened everyone's eyes to like cheap models can be quite effective. And so now with the agentic space, there's not just one model that you need to pick. Your agent's going to ultimately pick the model for you. So there's this evolution going on from a compute standpoint of going from just picking like your favorite model to now having a whole range of cheap models to bigger, larger models, and then the agentic piece picking the models for you. Reasoning models are another part of this evolution. Reasoning models taking a lot more compute just to run, but also being very effective in using that compute to give you much better results. If you look at LLMs before reasoning models being a next token predictor, a lot of times they hallucinate because they get stuck on whatever text that they've started to generate. If they created a sentence or a paragraph, then they're locked into that. They're committed to whatever they said, and then they have to keep going with that storyline they came up with, even if it's not true, and that's where you get hallucinations. But these reasoning models allow you to kind of have the model review what it did and pivot and change. So they're really helpful for getting better accuracy, less hallucinations, but also for fitting into agentic frameworks. So all of this contributes to the compute story. When the models first came out, there was like when ChatGPT first came out, everyone got scared and said it's a security risk because whatever you use in the model, it's then used to train the model, and then others can learn from your own use. But we quickly got past that, and particularly with Microsoft, like you could use models through the hyperscalers and be very secure in how you're accessing these models, even the closed source models that do otherwise train, because they offer versions where they're not training on your data, and that's what enterprises get and should all be using. Brad and I have had some discussions as well as how you could even make some of that even more secure. So there's a lot of options out there, but also like it's much easier to get over that. So I think the need to go on-prem definitely exists, but it's not as pressing as it like many people think it might be.
So it's more of a balanced approach now, whereas initially when new technologies come out, everybody's like, let's keep it in-house, let's put it behind a firewall, let's protect it, let's go and be able to touch it.
Right.
And now people are loosening up a little bit. And it feels like last year was, the year of AI. Everything was plastered with AI. Now it feels like we're moving a little bit past that into agents and agentic, more specific use case, more vertically oriented use cases.
Right.
Makes sense. So let's switch to energy and sustainability. So AI workloads consume vast amount of energy. How do you balance the workloads and the consumption of energy and being sustainable? Vlad, you want to start with that one?
I would say that sustainability cannot be orthogonal to the business objectives of the company. Let's speak about the clouds. Yeah? So cloud providers should chase sustainability as a business effect. For example, going for the power sources, they're looking for the cheapest place with the power energy. In very many cases, it's actually sustainable and green energy. If we have a crunch on the energy supply, there may be a compromises that we'll have to do, but I think in the long term, that's a solution. Yeah? The data centers actually being built in a place with cheaper energy, which is green. What we see today, we see the people tinkering with what we have. And at Cisco, for example, we have our networking equipment based on Cisco Silicon One, in-house designed chip last 5-7 years. Chip which was designed for, among other things, power efficiency. It's, I think, 70 times more energy efficient than the previous generation. Within the data center scale, the networking layer can now save 30-40% of power because of power utilization efficiency. Another example, we work with a startup company who works on the power stabilization for data centers. That technology reduces GPU failure rates by 19% because power inefficiency and unstable power is a failure rate. The effect of this company on a data center alone can save amazing 30-40% of power consumption by managing how the power source generates and provides power to the data center. So I think there is a long-term solution, there are the short-term solutions, but those solutions, I think sustainability is not a barrier for the business. It should be a factor of the business.
Yeah, and just to build on that, right? I think at Microsoft we've been pretty public with our sustainability goals, and one of the other things we've been pretty public about is we haven't changed them, even though we are deploying AI at scale. So right, we are really looking to see how we balance the two. And a lot of it comes down to really looking through the entire stack, how you are procuring energy, how you are using energy, just taking energy as an example, and being really efficient about it, right, as one source of it. So I'll just give one example to emphasize the point. Like when we first started building our GPU fleet, GPUs are a pretty big source of energy consumption. We were trying to fit them in our existing data centers that were optimized for our commercial cloud business. And we pretty quickly realized that we needed an AI optimized data center design, right? So we shifted to data center designs that were very much optimized and tuned for the unique requirements of AI. And that's just the data center itself. Then you're looking at like the racks, how dense you can make them, how you monitor the power surges, how do you make sure they are actually getting utilized heavily. So every layer of the stack, you're really trying to make sure that when you have power, when you have the liquid that is flowing through it, you're really doing it thoughtfully, and you are very careful about using it. And I think that in the longer term is going to allow us to get to a place where we can continue to still achieve big milestones in AI, but keep sustainability forefront.
So really a prescriptive approach.
Yes.
And being really aware of market need and only building what's really needed.
Exactly.
That's amazing.
Yep.
That's amazing. And with trillions of dollars flowing into AI infrastructure, what would you say are the smartest bets right now and some of the biggest risks coming up? Whoever wants to start with that one.
You guys.
Okay, in the next 3 years, how about that?
I think the scale at which we are growing, I would say sustainability, utilization, like just making sure, that those are definitely some big bets we are making. Like we announced, we continue to reinforce that we're making significant investments. So from an investment point of view, we are there, we are invested, we see scope in there. When it comes to risk, I think I would just go and say there are fundamental algorithms that we are relying on, and things change so quickly in the AI space. Mm-hmm. Like time scale in the AI space has a very unique connotation meaning, Indeed. Right? Indeed. So our time scales are very interesting. So I would say when you think about risk, while I'm really proud of where we are going, the underlying algorithms, the way we are approaching it seems very solid, but there's always something new that comes around that fundamentally changes it. And I do think, that'll happen.
Okay. Thoughts?
I can also, I will use some themes mentioned earlier today in the event. It's a Wild West, it's a gold rush. And we know the famous quote, I think, from the CEO of Google, Sundar Pichai, that it's more risky to underinvest than overinvest. And that's probably fair on a hyperscalers, and that's bets paying off. Yeah, Microsoft results today, amazing, congratulations. But and then there is a longer list of smaller providers. I'm saying, but we're working with them. And there is the balance of how fast they go versus how carefully they invest. Because if you go too fast, you'll burn out. If you go too slow, you lose behind. So working with every one of them, understanding where they are from the profitable growth and what they can capture reliably. Vertical integration is a great idea, but it's a very different business to own a data center, invest in data center, operate data center on a 30-year scale. Earlier today, a couple of speakers saying, hey, I'm making a decision on data center today. We'll build it or make a regulatory compliance in the 12 months, build it maybe in the 24 months. How much power per rack you're going to plan? That's a very risky decision today. So balancing those risks, not to be too fast, not to be too slow, I think is a real problem for the smaller players in the industry.
And would you say there's any infrastructure challenge that's being underestimated today that might affect the future in innovation?
Want to comment?
Either David or Vlad, yeah.
I would say security. There was speak about it earlier today about security. I think it's a very big thing which being underestimated.
Yes.
Because all these amazing applications we see on our phones, desktops, and the exhibition today, the enterprise customer, keep me honest here, yeah, it needs to be within our security perimeter. Data should not leave. What happens if Vladimirs will put something there and there, yeah? I mean, where it goes, who owns it, yeah? So I think that's a very big topic for the coming times. Cisco on our side, we look at this from infrastructure perspective, a little bit in a firewalls, on the AI level, but there's a huge amount of software layer which is to be done by the guys like Microsoft.
I think there's a lot of just unknowns about AI agents and where they're going to take us, and I'm not sure how much thought's been given into the impact on the infrastructure related to agents from a security standpoint of agents acting on your own, connecting to other agents and other data sets, but also just from increased LLM churn from agents running. There's probably all sorts of implications we haven't thought much about.
And to your point, I mean, agents spawning agents, right? You go set 3 or 5 that work for you, and then they go and spawn others which spawn others. So, Skynet, yeah, it's coming potentially. Mark Benioff said that there will be, billions of agents within the Salesforce ecosystem alone just a few months ago. I don't think that's a stretch. It seems crazy now, but it also seems very possible.
And then one more to add is edge. Running on the edge is a big one that hasn't really showed up too much yet, but running AI on our phones, once that comes in a bigger way, when Apple solves it and others, or your PC running on CPUs, there's already ways to do that today, but there's going to be a whole complex dynamic of where AI can be run, particularly on edge devices.
Is there any particular trajectory that you see this kind of going, or any kind of estimate of, as it starts to happen more, will companies again go back to a lockdown mode? Because when AI came out, companies like no AI, and the employers are like shadow AI, and it was happening, and it's still happening because of company policy. Do you see that companies will strike a balance, in the enterprise?
Well, I think agents, there is a scary dynamic there of like what can you do or not do. I've heard of some companies saying that they'll only use agents that they've built themselves and not trust any agents that someone else built outside. So agents definitely, there's going to be a lot of people being more aggressive or more conservative there. Yeah.
Yep, no, makes sense. Just in the sake of time, and I know we're in the way of cocktails, we're going to move to the lightning round, if that's good with you guys. So I'm going to go through a series of questions and just one-word answers or very brief sentence would be great. One word that describes the current state of AI infrastructure.
Exciting.
Speed.
Accelerated.
And what's the biggest myth about AI infrastructure today?
Scale.
Security.
Security as well.
Okay, can't repeat answers, but we'll move on. 5 time. That's too easy. Okay, more critical.
Change orders.
What's more critical in 5 years? Compute, connectivity, or energy? David, you start.
Energy.
Only 2 answers left.
Connectivity, I guess.
Oh, you can say whatever.
Energy is busy.
Thoughts?
Compute.
Okay.
That was simple, yeah.
If you could solve one infra challenge instantly, what would it be?
Compute.
Power availability.
Those are 2 good ones.
You can go with security, but that's always a
Price.
solid default.
Price.
Okay, nice.
Wow, that's a good one.
A biggest opportunity area people aren't talking about enough.
Edge.
Oh, that's a good one. I guess marketplace for the services.
I think from an enterprise perspective, it's just the impact that the boots on the ground can have, like the individuals doing the day-to-day job. That's where the impact needs to come from.
Okay, and back to sustainability, constraint or catalyst for AI innovation in a sentence. Is it a constraint or catalyst, AI infrastructure?
I think it's a big catalyst.
Okay, yeah,
Opportunity.
okay. You're welcome to repeat. It's okay.
It was very much a catalyst. We would never be here
Fair.
if it wasn't for that. And then it turns into a constraint as the success starts to confront itself.
Okay. And if you had to make a bet on one investment area today, what would it be?
Microsoft infrastructure.
Okay,
You didn't give us any boundary.
Clearly.
I would say sovereign clouds.
okay.
Vibe coding.
Yes, indeed, indeed. In favorite emerging tech that could impact AI infrastructure?
Vibe coding.
Indeed.
Well, I guess security.
Okay,
A bit repetitive.
Agents.
indeed. Okay, the last question in this moment is open. So what question am I not asking you that I should be?
When's the
Like,
bubble?
kind of like what's on your mind?
Is there a bubble that's going to burst?
Okay,
I think the question is about where are the enterprises on their journey.
adoption,
Yeah.
that type of thing? Yeah.
Adoption, are they ready for the production? Is it a research and development still, or it's out
Yes.
scale?
Yes, yes, yes.
I think that question is missing here.
Yeah, I agree.
For me, I think it's like, again, it's not from an infra layer, but as we move to an agentic world, what does data privacy mean? That's a very interesting concept on like, if I have agents on my behalf, do they take my identity with them? Or like, how do we draw those lines? So that'll be an interesting paradigm shift to see.
Yes, no, for sure. I was at the RSA conference earlier this week, and that came up. And people talked about a personal artifact that would go with your agent. And I thought to myself, okay, maybe, but if that agent then spawns other agents, and that spawns other agents, and it just keeps going. I mean, I didn't want to object to that panel, but I just thought there's no way you can keep an artifact tied to it at all. It will just keep going by itself.
I have a story for this, yeah, because last event before the happy hour, I can be a little bit frivolous about it. Is it Bill Barry in the room? He will not like it. So if you know Bill Barry, if you have on a call with him, what happens first is his AI note taker joins in, and then he joins in.
Indeed,
Yeah, I know.
indeed.
So I've been just 30 seconds. I've been on a call with him half a year ago. His AI note taker joined in, but Bill did not. So it was me, his AI talker, and my imagination.
Wow,
And
amazing,
I took a swing on this, yeah. We tell the stories.
Yeah.
We end up with a lot of action points. But the punchline, imagine there is an agent on his side who started taking actions from the nodes where Bill supposedly was there.
Right.
That is these agentic world challenges.
Indeed, indeed. Well, thank you all so much for coming. Really appreciate your insights and your time. And thank you for flying down today.
Thank you.
Much appreciated.
Of course.
And look forward to keeping in touch and seeing where things go. Good luck and stay safe. Thank you all for
Thank you,
participating.
guys.
Right. Yes, we let it rip on that gong. Thank you so much for a great wrap up.